No, honestly, man, I really just thank God. It was a tough game. It was a really tough game, and we knew it was going to be tough going into it. And a lot of ups and downs during that game, but specifically during those down moments, I was just trying my best to lean on God to pick me up and give me the strength to keep going. And he was there in that moment to lift me up and give me the strength to push through. But, I give the credit to my teammates as well. They fought hard. We all fought hard, and we're a team. And so I couldn't have done it without those guys and the guys up front.
A lot of humility to add with that strength. And on that note, welcome in one of my favorite football minds, Jon Ledyard, to Boston's End of the Chat. Good morning, Jon.
Good morning, y'all. Thanks so much for having me.
Very excited to pick your brain because we can sit here and talk about all the things the Patriots are doing well or not doing as well, or we have the hater tweets that are just like, wait for the downfall to come soon enough. But Jon, you get to help us unpack the most important thing, the young guys making an impact on this team, TreVeyon Henderson being one of them. I remember when we kidnapped you on during the draft or whatever, just so that you can continue to make me feel really good about my demand to have Henderson in New England.
Yes.
What have you made of him? And like his NFL comparisons were of DeAndre Swift and Gibbs and all of these really big-time running backs. So how does he continue to impact this New England Patriots team?
Yeah, I think moving forward for him, it's really going to be about finding consistency. This was like the funniest game ever to evaluate from a rushing perspective for the Patriots offense because y'all know, watching the game, it was like nothing, 55-yard touchdown, nothing, 69-yard touchdown. And so we got to see the best of TreVeyon Henderson, which the best of TreVeyon Henderson is that speed, that ability to get in the open field, just the breakaway potential that he has. But also, I hope people didn't miss the balance, too. On the last touchdown of the game, the 69-yarder, the Bucs actually blew that play up pretty good. And Greg Gaines gets a great push, knocks the guard back into Henderson. And a lot of backs go down in that situation. Henderson's able to keep his feet, bounce outside, and then the speed takes over from there. So we knew about the home run hitting ability. That part of it shouldn't really be surprising to anybody, but it's going to be all about consistency for Henderson. In college, he gained repute for how good he was in pass protection. Now, nothing carries over in college as little as pass protection because there's just so much more blitzing. There's so much more deception in fronts in the NFL these days. So for Henderson, that part has to adjust to be able to get on the field more. We know he has the ability. We know he has the desire. He's a very intelligent player. So those things are all there. He has to get just faster at seeing it in terms of pass protection. As long as that continues to improve, I think you'll continue to see more of him. So maybe a little bit concerning that we were seeing them try to get like Terrell Jennings and some other players snaps over him, but hopefully he can parlay these big plays that he had in this game into more success down the road because the talent is unbelievable. That part's undeniable. He just has to get better at picking up all the different scheme tendencies that you'll see from opponents in the NFL.
Well, Jon, the running backs get all the credit, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the big boys up front. Will Campbell, Jared Wilson, that left side of the line, SEC side. They've helped protect Drake May this year. What are your thoughts on the Patriots offensive line and their young left tackle and left guard?
Yeah, kind of a mixed bag from both of them so far, but it's a result of being thrown into the fire, really. Like you said, this team drops back a lot. They ask Will Campbell to do a lot in pass protection already. He has been equal to the task in terms of the technical ability, in terms of the mental part of the game. Those things are what you expected to carry over with him. Like, he is probably as good as he's going to get as a rookie. Not a lot of guys can say in the NFL to hit the ground running and be a solid starting tackle in the league right out of the gate. I think that's a really impressive thing. I don't think a lot of guys can make that transition from college. Now, we've also seen with Campbell, when he gets into the really high-profile matchups, there can be some challenges because he isn't maybe as big or as strong as some other tackles in the league when he's in pass protection at least. Moving forward, I think you see a lot of that stuff. He's able to get under guys' pads. He's able to leverage them. He's able to drive them out of spots. He also is really cerebral on the move in the run game. He can actually adjust to the changing picture as defense flows a certain way or defenders take certain angles. He can adjust his path to be able to block guys. So we saw a bunch of crack tosses in this game. They didn't always work because the Bucs have a very good run defense too, but obviously they get the crack toss that scores at the end of the game, and you can see Campbell's ability to get out from the other side of the crack, to get out in space and to be able to kind of make plays in those situations. So that he's an asset in the run game, I think, just because of all the things you can have on the menu schematically as a rushing attack. And I know they haven't really hit their stride just yet. And hopefully these splash plays will catapult them as a rushing attack. But really, I think Campbell has been one of the bright spots in that area so far this season because of his ability to play that way. You just wonder what's the ceiling in the high-profile matchups against the top guys in pass protection. Is he always going to kind of struggle a little bit in those matchups? He will do everything he's physically capable of doing in those matchups, but you do wonder if there's a talent maybe disparity that shows up at times with him. With Jared Wilson, I think it's been a bumpy road. Let's just be honest. Like, there's been some leverage issues in the run game where you're seeing him get knocked back a little bit, where you're seeing him driven back to the ball. He's the guard that I was saying before, got the gains carried back into Henderson and almost ended that play in a loss rather than a 69-yard game-winning touchdown. And so there are those incidents that show up that make him sort of one of the issues, I think, for them in the run game. I think there's some positive steps in pass protection lately. Elijah Roberts was a good test for him in this game when they matched up. Roberts, another rookie who's having a lot of 1v1 success for the Bucs this season. You are starting to see glimpses of good and then still some struggles with Jared Wilson in pass protection. Remember, he's coming from center to guard here from college, so there is an adjustment. You're getting more 1v1s than you would. You're sliding in protection and getting more 1v1s right off the snap than you would maybe if you were just at the center position in the NFL at least. So I think you're seeing him adjust to some of those changing angles and dynamics. I think there's so much talent with him. It's all about upside with Jared Wilson, kind of the opposite of Will Campbell in that way, where you might not be that impressed right now, but you're hopeful that in a couple of years he can kind of hit his stride.
Jon, I'm so glad you went there because I want to talk to you about Drake May, but I have to ask a follow-up about Will Campbell. Hearing you talk and breaking down what you see with him and knowing what you know as it pertains to the draft, am I crazy to sit here today and think that the Patriots could be right back in this position next year and drafting a left tackle, like an actual left tackle, Jon, and then moving Will Campbell to left guard? Am I a hater for that, or is that something you can see? Because I'm sensing you may see that.
Yes, I was actually a move Will Campbell inside guy, and I thought all along he could be a starting tackle in the league. Like, I wasn't questioning whether he could play tackle in the NFL. I try to evaluate players based off what their ceiling can be, where they're ceiling best at. And so for me, I thought Campbell at guard, and then I was really intrigued by the idea of him as a center too, just because we know the intelligence is there, the IQ is there, and then you have this unique movement ability, which at center you could do a lot of things in the run game with his movement ability. So I haven't seen him snap, so it was hard to say like he can definitely do it because some guys just can't snap and move. It just like it never clicks for them. So I definitely think there's a possibility that he ends up being better on the inside. Now, you spend a pick of that high, that caliber, you want a guy to play tackle, obviously. But at the end of the day, if you nail the tackle pick, if you happen to make it next year, and he becomes a really good interior offensive lineman, I don't think anyone's going to be complaining about that, especially with how much of today's passing attack is built off some of the stuff you can do successfully in the run game. So I think there's a possibility and a path for that to be where New England ends up going with that position. The nice thing about Campbell is I think he's at the very least going to be one of these like super chess pieces because the mental part of the game for him is so strong. The work ethic is so strong. I think he'll be able to figure it out at a bunch of different spots. I think the question with me was always just what's the ceiling? And certainly they might go tackle anyway and just give themselves options because Morgan Moses' age and some of the injury stuff in the past, even as well as he's played this season. So they are going to, offensive line is going to be a top priority for this team, at least for next offseason, maybe the offseason after that. And then we'll see what they do with all the young pieces. But they've at least moved in the right direction this year after last year was maybe the worst group in football.
Jon, I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, what you described is actually a higher ceiling than I have for Will Campbell. What you described, if he plays tackle, guard, center, and he kind of moves up and down the line wherever you need him, if he can stay healthy, I mean, if he could do that for a decade plus, he could become the greatest offensive lineman this franchise has ever seen. I think he has that kind of potential. Let's see if we agree here. I want to ask you about Drake May's quarterback class. Two-part question. When you watch Drake, what do you see and you like from him? And then here's the other part. Here's a doozy for you. You know, I think right now it's fair to say Penix, Bo Nix, and McCarthy are kind of a tier down for now. Right now, it's the top of that draft. It is Caleb, it's Jaden Daniels, although he's dealing with injuries. We saw what he can be when healthy, and it's Drake. If you're redrafting Jon, I mean, Did we get the order right? Would you take someone higher than maybe we saw? What do you see that you like from Drake, and how would you redraft that draft class now based on what you know?
Yeah, I mean, Drake May's going first. I don't, no
First?
question about that to me. Yeah, I mean, I like Jaden Daniels still a lot. And you could talk me into a world in which they're the same caliber of talent, which I'm totally on board with. I had May higher than Daniels. I was probably a little bit too low on Daniels in retrospect when he's been healthy. And when he's healthy, like, I think the dynamic with him is really, really strong. But the same concern I had with Daniels in college, like, just like, I don't know that body like just can take the amount of hits, and now you're seeing the wear and tear already in year 2 with some reoccurring stuff. So I worry a little bit about the play style, and I worry about how adaptive he is if he does have to change his play style. Can he be as good as May, for example? The thing that impresses me the most about May, probably, I mean, everyone could easily probably say the arm strength and like the accuracy down the field has been remarkable. That was true in college too, I think. The thing that I think I appreciate the most is some of the subtle pocket movement from him, and the ability you saw it on the play where Vita Vea's got a clean shot at him. He slides out to the left of the pocket. He avoids Vea, but his eyes are downfield. He's always setting up to throw, and he sort of understands, okay, as soon as I avoid him, I've got to make this throw on time to Mac Hollins on the inbreaker. Makes the throw, or avoids Vea, makes the throw on time, perfectly accurate throw, and you're saying that to me is like creation ability at quarterback beyond what sort of block for you. Now, May's not going to be he's not going to like be Patrick Mahomes in the pocket or anything like that. And the area he needs to most improve on is being able to get the ball out on time and being able to play faster at times, because he's taking a lot of sacks this year, and that part isn't necessarily sustainable. Now, he did this in an excellent way against the Bucs. So this was a huge area of improvement for him in a high-profile matchup in which he was pressured a ton in this game. And he's going to be pressured a ton, especially when you get into the playoffs in the big matchups. He's going to be pressured a ton. So to me, the reason why I feel higher on New England, for example, than Indianapolis and some of these other Denver and some of these other teams that people would probably tier with them, is because they have a quarterback who I think is excellent under pressure and can make the tough throws under pressure. And this game was a perfect example of that. But really all season, I think, has been a perfect example of that. Of, yes, he can, any part of the field, he can make a throw, and he has sort of that gamer to him where he's not worried about getting hit. He's not ducking or trying to avoid or scrambling when he shouldn't and things like that. I think he's able to stand in and deliver the ball on time in some of these situations, despite the fact that a hit is coming. And to me, that sort of moxie and demeanor kind of set him apart a little bit, but as well as just the physical ability to do that. Some of these guys can't physically make throws while getting hit or off their back foot or things like that, and May can do it. So when you combine those two things, and then just the fact that he's a student of the game and the leadership stuff and just his demeanor in general seems to be one the team has already adopted in year 2. And some of that's the backing of Vrabel and just the confidence Vrabel's given him, I think, and being able to support him and what that means to the room. But to me, those are the biggest things with May. It's just like there's so much to like in the intangibles and the tangibles, which, I mean, it should be a very exciting future for New England because of that.
This is why I get excited to pick your brain. And this is also where, I don't know, you can help my colleagues know how stubborn I am. There's an argument that I have kind of been making.
We know. He ain't got to help us.
Shush, it's my turn. Shush, it's my turn. Okay, so, John, there's an argument that I have been trying to make here subtly. I say subtly. To where some people were frustrated that certain moves, splash moves, weren't made at the trade deadline. And in my mind, I'm thinking they were focused on big picture. They have the potential to do more now, but they've exceeded expectations, so they don't have to put themselves out by oversaturating a wide receiving room. And I take it to the wide receiving room because at one point they had probably more wide receivers rostered than anybody anticipated coming out of training camp. They had some sleepers in training camp like Kyle Williams, who I'll get your opinion on here in a moment. But I realize that the NFL has had a problem kind of stunting the growth and development of players, and they've done it primarily with quarterbacks. I feel like there's more opportunity, there's more potential in this wide receiving room than given credit for. We saw a lot more out of Kyle Williams, and you and I saw it in Tampa Bay. If there's connection, it doesn't matter if that's a big wide receiver name. If that quarterback can rely on that player, they're going to make things happen. So what do we make of Kyle Williams, who was a massive projected sleeper in this previous draft class, and kind of the ceiling that we could see for him in New England?
Yeah, there just wasn't a receiver available, in my opinion, at the deadline that was going to move the needle like they need. They'll eventually, finding a guy who can be an absolute star, and maybe that is Kyle Williams. We'll talk about him, but I think that is going to be a priority for them. But just right now, was that player really available? I tend to think probably not at this deadline. I know there's some names people would point to, but even Rashid Shaheed, that's the player you're hoping Kyle Williams becomes, and then some. And he showed proof of concept at least this week against Tampa Bay. I think with Williams, the things you like the most, I'm not going to rewrite the book here, really. I think the vertical speed. I mean, that was the same way in college. He was able to get on top of corners and he was able to make plays down the field. I think that part of his game is really exciting. I wouldn't call him unbelievable run after the catch in terms of elusiveness or a guy you want catching the ball on bubble screens all game. But when you talk about just open speed or speed in the open field and ability to run away from defenders, this guy's top notch in that regard. So those things get you excited. The last thing that gets you excited about his game is the release package. When you press him at the line of scrimmage, he's already capable with the quick feet and the variety of moves that he has to be able to beat that press and get an early advantage in the rep. So that's an exciting part of his game that will show up, especially in the weighty down and distances when you're more likely to see press coverage in some of the third down red zone type situations. I do think he can be a factor. We saw glimpses of that even in the preseason with him. The issue with Williams that I think will need to continue to improve if he's ever going to be a high volume guy. I think he's played 155 snaps this season. So obviously he's not factored in a ton until injuries have kind of happened. The thing with him is just consistency, and then consistency from multiple receiver spots, right? How routes distribute from different alignments matters a lot. In college, he played a lot outside the numbers. He was a lot of vertical stuff with him as a receiver. That translates to the NFL in certain roles maybe, but if he's going to become, we just kind of pulled the Rashid Shaheed comp out just talking about the deadline, but if he's going to become a player like that, what Rashid Shaheed has improved the most at recently is just being able to win in a variety of route breaks from a variety of spots on the field. That is the NFL today. Everybody is playing inside. You're playing in reduced splits as a wide receiver. You're playing inside the numbers. You're playing in the slot. You're moving around. And so he's got to get better at playing, knowing how his routes distribute against different types of coverages. That's another key part. When he gets down the field, does he read the coverage correctly? Is there two highs? Is there one high? Is the middle of the field open? Is it closed? Those are the sorts of cerebral jumps that Kyle Williams needs to make. If he makes those jumps, the talent is undeniable with him. I was a huge fan of his pre-draft. I had him very high in my draft, in my wide receiver rankings, because I thought the talent was really tantalizing, and I thought he had the traits that could translate to a bigger role and a more versatile role in the NFL. So time will tell. It's certainly a step in the right direction in week 10, and he could be, if he's able to pick that stuff up, which is kind of outside of our purview until he plays more at least. If he picks that stuff up, he and Henderson could be real difference makers for them down the stretch of the season, because they add total different level of dynamism to their offense that they just didn't have before, just putting the ball in their hands. So they're probably two of the biggest guys to watch the rest of the year as far as rookies go.
John, it's prediction time. Pats, Jets, what do you got for tonight?
30 seconds, John. Give us a score, baby. No pressure.
Hey, Jets are playing better lately, but it doesn't matter. I think the Patriots are playing as well as anybody in the AFC right now. I don't think this one's going to be particularly close.
Yes, I love this guy.
Not particularly. I told you, he's the best. Jon Ledyard, Audibles and Analytics. Make sure you check out his podcast and all of the information that he has the tendency to break down, especially when it comes to the NFL draft. John, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on chat. Can't wait to hopefully have you back to continue to break down all things when it comes to the rookie class and the upcoming draft. 2026, it's not too far away.
That's right.
Hey, anytime, y'all. Thanks so much for having me. I truly appreciate it.
You are the best. Don't go anywhere. Let us know your thoughts, maybe even your predictions for Jets versus Patriots. 617-790-0928. When we get back, we take it from the gridiron to, well, the Bruins. Goal scoring. Revenge yet again. Join us back here on Boston is Under the Chat.